Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow and this is of course more Tears of the Kingdom. Recently I did a whole video about a selection of legendary and unique weapons with interesting ways to acquire them and even more interesting effects and utility to those weapons. And I'm back again to talk more about unique, legendary or interesting weapons. We have another nice selection for you today in the form of melee weapons and also bows and even a shield. With that said though, let's jump into the first one, a very useful spear. Our first weapon of today's list then is of course this spear, or rather the Trident. This is the Lightscale Trident, which makes its return in Tears of the Kingdom as a 22 damage spear with a unique passive. That passive is Water Warrior. So while it starts as a 22 damage spear, it actually turns into double that when you get wet. So as I've gone into water, I am now like wet. You can see it dripping off of me and my weapon has doubled in damage to 44. This is a very, very strong spear then if you're ever able to use the water effect whenever relevant. Water Warrior also will activate in say underwater caves where it's wet or maybe it's raining. You know, there are various ways for this effect to take place. And of course this is all unfused where we can increase the damage, add element properties or whatever whenever we want. But to get it, you're going to need to come here to the Zora domain. Zora's domain is on the eastern point of the map, just like it was in the original, and it does have a shrine just down below where you can fast travel to it. You do not need to make your way up the river as before. You can just climb over, maybe use the tower and land in though, and it's a specific vendor that we need near the general store on the ground level. Right here, as we go through the general store, we'll actually come to the crafter, this master weaponsmith and armor smith. His name is Dento. As he tells you, even if you lose it breaks or whatever, if you bring the necessary materials, he'll always craft you more, so there's always more available. Problem is that Zora isn't in a nice state like it is here. It's actually covered in horrible goop and slime. This is because you must follow the main storyline in this sort of section, this region, completing the water temple that hangs above it all. When you restore this region to its normal state, you'll of course be hailed as a hero once more, but people will then provide you with new side quests, including Dento's side quest for the Lightscale Trident. He requests something pretty simple and then something not so simple. He wants one Zora spear, and it can even be like a rusted or broken one as long as you have one. He requests 5 flint, which is nothing, it's super easy to get. And then he wants 3 diamonds. Fortunately, the Zora spear is very easy. For example, outside of the tower will be a fishman stuck in a pool of goop. If you were to throw water or use any water on that, you'll free him and it'll give you one. But if you've already done that and you've wasted it, then you can come back down Zora River and make your way to the Tabal Woods cave here. By entering as I'm doing here, you will find not 1 but 2 likes that will attack you. Basically, while being in Zora's domain, the loot pool of equipment will often be tied to Zora equipment. So by defeating these likes and then they give you the chest, they're going to give you Zora weapons, Zora shields and so on. And they have a really high chance of dropping a Zora spear, and you can infinitely farm these. Basically, before you kill any of them, just save and then kill them, loot the chest, and hopefully get a spear. If you don't, you can reload, try again until you get one. I literally got one first try though, the odds are very high. When it comes to flint and 5 of these, it's very easy to get these. You just need to do any mining against any ore node in the overworld, which you'll find tons of in caves specifically. Chances are you probably have 5 though. But to get yourself 3 diamonds, you're going to need to go to some specific places. Fortunately, there are consistent options for this. Here in South Hyrule Sky is a selection of islands, and on this one with this pin, there's going to be a shrine with a diamond as a reward. Using the nearby Hyrule Field Skyview Tower then, we can appear pretty close to where our destination is. As you can see, facing it, it's right there. Upon arrival on the island though, you will need to activate the shrine by going up to it and using the hand. This will activate the puzzle, which you must quickly solve. Fortunately, it's pretty simple. A light will point the way where you need to find the crystal and bring it back. With the crystal brought back though, the shrine will spawn and we can walk in and collect our diamond reward. As you can see, the shrine itself is quite literally just a reward shrine, and within the chest in that shrine is going to be your first diamond. Next, we can actually kill a specific talus in the depths, which will drop a diamond and has the potential of dropping multiple. Right next to the abandoned Kakariko mine, just to the northwest, is going to be a stone talus, which drops 2 of the diamonds when you defeat it. The nearest crater to access this area then is the one that's next to Kakariko village, of course. And as you enter the depths, you can fly down and activate a light route, head straight to it. And there it is. It is a gloom covered one, so if you do get hit, you will take some gloom heart damage. But that's not too bad to deal with. You can bring gloom cleansing food or equipment, but I'm just going to fight it as normal. As it throws its arms at you, it will go to recover them, which is a perfect time to climb, and jump on up. And then by attacking its weak point, as you can see, we can deal great damage and also get some resources for our efforts as well. And with that, we're going to get our rewards, which as you can see is indeed a diamond and an absolute pile of amber and other useful resources like opal and crystallized charge. Finally, we can also get another diamond in another shrine that's really easy to get here in Tarry Town. If you haven't been to Tarry Town before, it's located in Akala, the northeastern point of the map. By talking to the lift guy, there will be a green crystal behind him. I've already done this, and you can buy it from him from 50 rupees. He will ask for a ridiculous price, so just reject it until he offers 50 rupees for it, and then take that. Then you need to escort it, picking it up and putting it onto the elevator and taking it around. After landing on the other side, you're going to need to follow that light to the entrance of the shrine, which is just around this corner at the bottom of the waterfalls, as the light will be showing you. Fortunately, all over this place is a bunch of really useful fuse materials, such as fans, rockets, air balloons, whatever you want to make a contraption to get over there. I would recommend you just make a simple boat though, which you can do by getting 3 logs by cutting down 3 trees, attaching them together like so, finding a couple fans and putting them on the back, and then after you've attached the crystal, you could go further and maybe put a control panel on it. But honestly, if you aim it correctly towards the shrine, like I say, on the left side, on the left-hand waterfall, you should be able to just reach it on this made bow. Also, don't use a sword like I just did, because you'll break your bow. Either way, however you do it, however you want to, just escort the crystal over to the shrine. That will spawn it. You can go in and collect your diamond reward. There are many shrines and many bosses and even just rare materials you can break to get diamonds in this game. But there is a consistent way you can get them very quickly if you really want to. By coming here to Goron City, which is just next to Death Mountain at the northern eastern point of the map, you will find this vendor, which quite literally sells diamonds for 1,000 rupees each. So if you find yourself in a pinch, this is always an option. Either way, once you've acquired your 3 diamonds, your 5 flint, and of course the Zora spear, you can come back to Dento and get yourself the trident yourself. Again, you can always come back to him if you lose it or break it to get another one, but a consistent 22 damage spear that is actually 44 damage whenever you're wet, with its unique design, is pretty cool indeed. Next on our list of awesome weapons then is the unique legendary, the Dusk bow, or the Bow of Twilight. This, I believe, is the weapon that we used at the end of the first game in Breath of the Wild to defeat Ganon in True. Now, it's not quite as crazy as it was in the ending of that. We don't have those same ridiculous arrows. However, it does have a really incredible effect in which you have mega long range arrows without needing to zoom in or anything like that. And also, the durability of this weapon is extremely high for a bow, which in itself is a very useful thing. The bow is a 30 damage bow, which compared to say the mighty Lionel bows or the Royal Guard bow, yeah, is low, but the durability and the extra range is fantastic, and it's one that you can claim every blood moon, in fact, and one you can get right at the beginning of the game because it's actually very easy to get. From Lookout Landing, you can take the Skyview Tower into the air, which will take you north, and you can head straight to Hyrule Castle. What you want to do is aim for the roof. You're going to climb to the very top of the highest peak, and at the top, in sort of a broken bit of the tower, is the bow itself. To climb the tower, it's not so bad. You can fly over, and if you've got low stamina, you can use stamina restoring food, but ultimately you want to get up to the top tower. You can use this however you want, be it like rocket shields, springs, zonite machines, or just normal climbing. You can actually ascend to get up to the top levels very quickly from even the middle room, and then ascend to, say, the balconies to get even higher. In fact, you have to do very little climbing to make it there, but eventually you'll reach the top and you'll pick up the bow in that crater shape. Another interesting detail of this bow is the fact that it seems to be made of a unique material. It doesn't seem to electrocute in, say, thunderstorms and lightning storms, and also it doesn't seem to be made from wood, so it doesn't seem to burn in the same way. So it's a very versatile, very durable bow at that, and 30 damage is nothing to scoff at when you can shoot so many times with this thing at such long ranges. An awesome legendary weapon to pick up, and again, one you can pick up every blood moon, as it will restore itself at the top of Hyrule Castle. Next up, it's time for us to talk Gloom weapons and the Demon King weapon. Gloom weapons are incredibly cool with their kind of pretty simple design. The sword is a simple katana with a black and gold theme, and as you can see, it has 41 damage as a baseline to begin with. That is incredibly high for a weapon of this nature. But the downside is that it has an ominous presence, said to end the life of anyone it touches. The gloom will gradually wear down the body of its wielder, so by using these gloom weapons, you will take gloom damage. The gloom hearts that I protect myself from when using, say, this armor set to step in gloom. As an example then of how this actually works, is when you deal damage, you will take that gloom heart. And as you can see, my depth's armor is not really protecting me me from that. So every time I attack, I'm going to get a Gloom Heart. And when I reach the maximum of full Gloom Hearts, only 1 heart left, and then I deal damage, it can and will kill. But you need to have fully been gloomed up for that to happen, so it's very, very unlikely. This basically makes these weapons very high damage, risk versus reward weapons, that if you just want to burst something down, well then you can go for it with these. But there's a really simple trick to make them incredibly useful and not have to deal with that effect at all. Let's take the Trident from earlier, drop this 41 damage weapon onto the ground, and simply fuse it to my Trident. What I've done is I've increased the range of my spear, my Trident, which is awesome. I've added 41 damage to my Trident, which is awesome. And as you can see, when I attack, I'm not getting Gloom at all, because even though I'm attacking with the weapon, I'm not holding it. It's fused to the end of the real weapon that I'm holding. So that's how you counter the Gloom weapons negative, using them as fuse parts, essentially, which makes them very deadly weapons for that purpose. As you can see, the Gloom Sword Trident, when wet, gets up to 126 damage per hit. And again, we're talking about a spear, so we're able to attack super quick. The combination of these two is absolutely insane. Secondly, we have from the same source, the Demon King's Bow, or bows. These cool design bows actually have a unique effect. Instead of causing us Gloom Heart damage whenever we attack with them, these bows actually gain damage depending on the maximum number of hearts we have. So the more hearts we have, the more damage we get. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it starts at 22, and we're at 28 right now with the amount of hearts that I have. So it's a damage scaling weapon. The further you get into the game, the stronger this Demon King bow will get. A really cool concept, and you get Gloom weapons and these bows from the same source. Phantom Ganons are these sort of shadow mini-bosses that you must defeat, and they quite literally use these Gloom weapons. And depending on the Phantom Ganon you're fighting, it will have a different fighting style, and even potentially different Gloom weapons to get. To spawn a Phantom Ganon though, you're going to actually need to defeat those Gloom hands that spawn beforehand, which you will find all over the world. For example, there's a set of them under Hyrule Castle, or even in various caves, even in the open and early game. You need to defeat these hands all at once before any of them respawn. The best way to do this is to use, say, a bow with an AoE capacity to it, like fire, choo-choo jelly, or rupees are a great explosive, bombs or whatever. Killing them all before any of them can get health back is how you do it. After that, well, then the Phantom Ganon will spawn and you have to defeat it. Again, it depends on which you're facing, but ultimately you can use high damaging fused arrows to stagger and deal good range damage to take it down, or you can bait it out for, say, a charge and parry that, defeat the Phantom Ganon, and you'll get the rewards. The Phantom Ganon I'm fighting in this footage is actually here and under the Korok Forest. Heading northeast from Lookout Landing, you will find this crater here on the map. And by entering it, you'll come underneath Korok Forest by heading northwest. And you'll actually be able to go under the grove and ascend up into the forest. From here, you'll see everything is horrible and gloomy, and by going into the giant Deku tree and going to the back of this room, you'll find a crater has opened up. I recommend saving before you jump in, just in case, but jump down there, defeat the Gloom hands, defeat the Phantom Ganon, and you'll get the Gloom weapons, potentially the Demon King's bow as well. Again, we can find these all over the world though, but this is generally how they work and how to make the most of Gloom weapons. But that beautifully brings us to our last interesting weapon type, the forest weapons and equipment that you can find here in the Korok Forest itself. After you go through and cleanse it by defeating that Phantom Ganon we just talked about, it will be restored to life, and all the Koroks will return to normal and even return to the forest. By speaking to many of them, there will be side quests and adventures you can do in this area, which is really nice, but there's one in particular that leads to these weapons and equipment. For example, the Forest Dweller Sword and the Spear, which have actually made a Talus Sledge. These weapons have a really cool passive effect. Bursting materials attached to the tip can be reused again and again. The idea behind that then is what you fuse to the weapon will actually be restored and will be revived. Meaning while the spear itself in this case might break, the fused material won't, and we can repeatedly use it, which is a really unique concept and does mean that maybe we can use really high damaging fuse parts like these horns, for example, with 34 fuse attack power. I have 9 of them and I sparingly use them because I've got 9 and I might not find more for a long time. But by attaching them to, say, the Forest Dweller equipment, this will make them last a lot longer. The weapons themselves don't have major damage, as you can see, only 7, but obviously it's all about the fusing with these things. You could also get the shield, which is a nice sturdy 30 armor shield, or awesomely finally, the bow, the Forest Dweller's Bow. Now, one of the strongest weapon types in the game is the mighty Lionel bows, or Lionel bows in general. This is because they fire 3 shots at once and have a nice passive with whatever you've got. Because for 1 arrow, I can fire 1 bomb flower, except instead of sending 1, I'm sending 3. That is very potent with any number of things you might use on this, especially some of the high attack power fuses you might consider. The DPS potential is very high, even though this one in particular is a 15 damage bow. That's still 45 damage with no attachments, although this is all about fusing, so your damage will be much higher than that. Now, forest weapons come from the Korok Forest, but there's an easy way to get all of these things I just explained to get you going at the top of the Deku tree. You can get up there however you like, climb or whatever. I just used a couple springs and sent myself all the way to the top, and up there you'll find this Korok to speak to, who has a quest once you've cleansed this area. He wants you to find his hidden weapons and the shield, and if you do so, you'll keep them and he'll give you the bow as a reward for all of that. The sword is just above him on the tip of the Deku tree, which is an easy claim for sure, but then the spear is also up here at the top on the other side on this sort of corner. You can find them by pulling out your Ultra Hand and that'll reveal them, it'll give them an outline, but they're not hard to find. Once you find these two though, go speak to him and he'll be like, alright, I've hidden my shield, go find that. That is just above the entrance to the Deku tree itself, on the left side as you can see, and we can Ultra Hand to grab that and bring it down to us. With the shield in hand though, we can go back to the top of the Deku tree and speak again to the Korok, who will then reward us with the bow. And from there you'll have the sword, the shield, the spear, and the bow all to work with, and further ability to unlock more in the forest itself. Overall, I find these very good weapons, especially if you can get them early on. A bow that can fire multiple shots in one go is very powerful indeed, and 3 is no joke. They're definitely a unique weapon type to know about, and now you do. But there you have it, another set of unique and legendary weapons for you to consider, especially the very potent combination of 2 of them. If you have any other suggestions for this series in which we can find legendary or unique weapon types that people really should know about, then let us know in the comments. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, I hope this has helped, and until next time, we'll see you then.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world our stage. Goodbye.